So thank you, everybody, and thank you again, the organizers. Our panel was this morning, and we had a very inspiring panel, and I can say that because when the panel ended, instead of folks going to the breakout and get coffee, a lot of people stay in the room debating, so I was very pleased to see that. Not just the panel was a multi-stakeholder panel, but the questions were also developed by a very excited group of multi-stakeholder representatives over the phone in the weeks preceding IGF. So I was very glad to see that development and that practice. But anyway, going back to specifically what happened in the panel this morning, one of the first questions was regarding how does the US approach its obligations to protect human rights online, and directly to the government representative, Scott Butsby, we asked him what are the initiatives and principles US support and foster. And after that, of course, everybody had its chance to comment on that, and I think Busby brought some very interesting declarations and documents that came out of Obama administration exactly supporting some core principles on human rights and reinforcing that they apply online as do they apply offline. And that should not be seen as a dichotomy, but actually has a real issue of legal applicability of those rights. Busby secured us that U.S. is deeply engaged in many fora, such as UN, helping building consensus around human rights online as they are offline. U.S. is also deeply engaged on providing assistance, and he mentioned the value of $100 million for technology development for human rights protection, such as Tor, but also to advocacy and academia doing research and advocacy and coalition building around those issues. On the coalition side, of course, they brought up the Freedom of Online Coalition, which is a diplomatic effort to really foster human rights in the internet age, but is also an effort to practice multi-stakeholderism. Ben Blink from Google, our company representative, brought the issue of trust and transparency, and he also brought the issue of any action should be guided by principles of necessary and proportionate measurements. Ben mentioned that this is critical to achieve back. One of the things we discussed a lot was that U.S. lost its leadership position in this area after the Snowden revelations. So the trust issue was brought many times by many of the participants. And I think Busby really brought back, and at the end he called the help of all of us to achieve that role and to really go back to that role. Every Doria, representing the technical community, she also called attention to other human rights, such as the right to freedom of association, because many of the panelists were exclusively focused on the right of speech and the right of privacy, and she said that without those, none of them are actually being exercised. Alberto Cerda, our academia representative, called attention, and actually he's from Chile originally. He said that human rights should be the global frame for the internet, because internet is a global platform for relations. And he also pointed out a concern that from a foreign perspective, U.S. many times has human rights based on its constitution and not as an international framework. So he called attention in terms of the rhetoric used around human rights in the U.S. Deborah Brown from APC, our civil society representative, called attention for the need to recognize, even legally, the extraterritoriality of human rights, and that to be a leader to conquest back this position, you need to put your house in order to rebuild trust. Busby, of course, reacted. And one thing that he said that is really wonderful is that U.S. is trying to eliminate the line between U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens, including regarding foreign surveillance. And he also brought about the Obama reform in this sense and asked help for people to really participate and comment. Another question that generated a great debate was regarding if US is not the lead anymore, who is? And countries brought up were Brazil, Kenya, the Netherlands, and Sweden as examples. And the consensus was in the panel was that no one is actually a leader for everything, and we should look at the good pieces emerging from a diversity of countries such as Brazil with the Internet Bills of Rights, Marco Civil right now, and other initiatives. So I think that's those were some of the highlights of the panel, and I think people were very pleased with it. Thank you.